Welcome back to our Richest YouTube channel. Today's class will learn how to make this beautiful palazzo trouser with side ruffle. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to make this palazzo pants, I folded my fabric into two like this, and then on the sides, on this folded points, I went in by 1 inch for my allowance, and it's also going to help me in shaping my waist. And then here on top of it, I ruled my starting point away from the selvage area because I don't need it. So this starting point now is going to double as my waistline, and then the next is going to be a high waist pants. Okay, so now I'll take my crotch measurement. Your crotch measurement, you should take it from where your trouser is going to stop. In this case, I want to have like 2 inches band on this trouser, so I'll be going upwards by 2 inches. My actual crotch measurement for my pants is 11 inches, but because this is high waist, so my crotch is 13 inches because I took that measurement from where I want the crotch to stop. So now I have 2 inches there, and then I'll mark my crotch measurement of 13 inches, and then I'm going to make it into a straight line. So this is a palazzo pant. It's very simple to make, which means you don't need too much measurement. So these are the measurements that I need. So after this, the next measurement you need to take is your full length measurement. That is where your trouser is going to be. So I have around, my full length is around 43 inches because I like my pants really long, and these are guys around 45 inches. So I'm just going to exhaust what I have there. So the next measurement I'm taking here is my waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 36 inches. So the 36 inches, I'm going to divide it by 4, and after dividing 36 by 4, I have 9 inches. So from here, not from outside here, from where I stopped my 1 inch mark, I'm going to measure the 9 inch. Okay, so after measuring this 9 inch, excuse me, I'll add 1 inch from my allowance. That's my, I'll add 1 inch from my that allowance because I'm adding a half inch that on both sides, and then I'm going to add another 1 inch. So that's the only allowance I'm adding here. Okay, then here I'm going to move to my crotch. On my crotch, I'll take the right measurement of my thigh. That's the fullest part of the thigh, and for me I have 31 inches. So the 31 inches, I'm going to divide it by 2. Not for this time, remember the legs are now separate in this case. So I have 15.5 inches. So the 15.5 inches, I'm going to be taking it from this out measurement. Remember, I took the waist measurement from the inner line here. So the 15.5 inches is going to come from here, and then I'm going to take that measurement all the way like that. So I have 15.5 inches there, and then the measurement that I have here to draw my crotch curve, I'm going to measure it. So here I have around 11 inches. I'm just going to take it down so that I can have a straight line. So I'll take that on my crotch also, and then mark a straight line. Okay, so for my crotch curve, I'm going to get an angle 95. Is on the ruler already, so I'm just going to place it there and mark that point so that I can get my curve. Or you can just look for the middle of these two lines where they intersect. Just get the middle. So on that middle, to get the measurement I need there, I'm going to measure what I have here, and here I have around 3 inches or 3.5 inches thereabouts. So whatever it is that you have there, you're going to divide it into 4. Okay, so if I divide what I have here into 4, I'm just folding my tape into 4. Okay, so after doing that, now I have around quarter of an inch there. So on this intersection area, I'm going to measure the 3/4 of an inch, which is here. So I'm just going to rule it like this, and that is going to be my guide to draw my crotch curve. So to draw this crotch curve, I'm just going to take my ruler and then I'm going to connect. So this point and this point is very important. So I'll take my ruler now and then connect all of them together. So once they connect, I'm going to draw my curve. And that is about what you need for your front. So once this curve is drawn, I hope you can see it. This curve is very important. You need to get this part right. So I'm just trying to bold my line so that we can see what I did there very well. So the next line is to connect from my hip here, from my waist here to my crotch line, so that I can shape out my hip there. So from there now, I'm going to connect. Okay, so I'll just take it down. Like I said, it's a palazzo, so whatever measurement that I have here on my crotch is what I keep measuring. Remember, I have 15.5, so here also I'll mark the 15.5 inches, and then I'll just measure it straight down for my palazzo. So if you don't want it so big, you can even shape it a bit inwards, but not too much. So here I have 15.5. I can just measure maybe 14 inches here, and then I'll just connect it slightly like this, and then take the 14 inches downward. That is if you don't want it too much. So if you are doing that now, I'll just measure my 50 instead of 15.5. I'll just measure 15 inches here, and then I'll take the 15 inches all round, and then I'm going to make that into a straight line also. Okay, so when I get here, using my curve, I'm just going to slightly connect it to the point there where my crotch stops, and then I'm going to cut out the pattern that I have here. Okay, so now I've cut out this pattern, and this is what I have. You can see that it's just straight down all the way to the hem, and this is the shape that we have in front. So the next thing I want to do now is to slice my center front and then draw my dart. So for my dart, from the center front here, I'm going to measure 4 inches. That's my, I'm going to measure my nipple to nipple measurement. That's 8 divided by 2. So from my allowance here, I'm just going to, from my center front, I'm just going to measure 4 inches or 4.5 inches because of the allowance, and then on that point I'm going to measure the same measurement on the lower part, and then that leg is going to be around 5 inches long. So I'll make that into a straight line, and then on the two sides I'll take half inch. Remember, we took a dart of 1 inch for our side. From our side there, we took a dart allowance of 1 inch. So I have my dart there. Then the last thing I'm going to do here is to add the ½ inch allowance that I'm going to use to sew it to my band. So here you can measure it, but I can see ½ inch on my ruler here. So I'm just going to draw out ½ inch from what I have on top here, and that is going to be what I'm going to use to sew this to my band. So now from that ½ inch, let me just trim off this excess that I have here. Okay, so I don't need this excess. So now from this proper part here, I'm going to measure 1 inch downwards, because I like the fit that's going to give my trouser in front, on the front part only. So I'll measure 1 inch downwards from the center front, and then I'm going to connect it to the side. Okay, So I hope my chalk is visible. I'm going to connect this 1 inch to the side. So now I'm going to refold my paper and cut out my back panel. For the back, I just folded my fabric into 2 again, and then I placed my front on it. So I placed the right side of the front so that it will be different and we can see this well. So now the only adjustment that I'm going to do this now is on my crotch. I'm going to extend my crotch there. So because this is for a big size, I'm going to be extending my crotch by 3 inches. So you just extend your crotch line there, and then I'm going to mark 3 inches to allocate the bum. Okay, so here I'll mark 3 inches for my extension. You can do 2.5 if the person is not big. And then on the upper part here, I'm going to go up by 1 inch for my bum rise also. And then from there, I'm going to connect it back to my side. Okay, I hope you can see this. I'll connect it back to the side here, because remember we're going to sew it together, so the side must match. Okay, so after connecting it, I'll take my curve now and then extend my crotch. So for this crotch now, I'll just bring in the original pattern where I have my crotch line, which is this, and then on that point I'm going to extend this curve that we have here. I'm going to extend it for the back, and then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches extra. Okay, so after measuring it, I can remove this that I have, and then using my curve, I'm going to connect from my waist to this new curve that I have, and then to my new crotch line. So I'm going to try to take it all at once, but if I can, I'm going to take it in bits. So I'll connect from my new waist. Remember, the new waist is the 1 inch upwards that we did here. So I'll connect from that to that 1.5 inch mark, and then from there I'm going to connect to my crotch. Okay, so that's the extension that I need to do there. So on the side here, I'm going to connect it to meet any parts of this side. So you just take your curve and then just blend it in to any side. So if you have a pant curve, it's better. So I'm taking my curve like that, and then I'm going to connect it, and then you're done with cutting your trouser. So all you just need to do now is to cut this out. So you may want to note your dart, where your dart is, just notch it so that you can easily place it when you get to your cutting table, and then you'll be able to cut it. So this is where I have the dart mark. I'm just going to place it on it again, and then I've not shaved off my 1 inch that I went inwards on the front. So here I'm going to cut that off. And then on my dart here, I'm going to notch where my dart is, and then on the back also I'm going to extend the dart line so that I can know where the dart stops on the back part. And then I'm going to notch it there also. So this way it's going to be easy for me. So I'll just cut out the shape that I have there. Okay, so for the flounce at the side, I'm going to be working with a spiral flounce like this. So I just drew 4 lines, and then I went on from the inner point, I just measured 1 inch round, and I made it into a circle like this. I have a detailed tutorial already on how to cut a spiral flounce, so if you don't get this, you may check that out. So the length of my flounce is going to be 4 inches, and then I folded this fabric into 2 because I want to line it. As you can see, my front is very different from my wrong side of the fabric, and I don't want the wrong side to be showing, so I'm just going to line it with the same Ankara fabric. So here on one of the quadrants, I'll measure the midpoint here, and on the midpoint I'll go in by my actual length measurement, which is 4 inches. And then on the one immediately beside it, I'm going to note the midpoint also, and then using my curve ruler as a guide, I'm going to connect from this midpoint here to my 4 inches mark. So like I said, if you do not understand this, you just need to check out one of the videos I made already on flounce. It's very simple to make. Once I connect this now, the next measurement now is going to be 4 inches all round. So from anywhere that I stop, as you can see, I'm just going to be taking 4 inches round, all round like this, and then I'm going to connect it. So I'll connect everything now. Okay, so I've marked the spiral flounce all around, and then I'm just holding it with a pin before I cut it, so that it's going to be together and it's going to be easy for me to turn it. So now the next thing now is to cut out my flounce. Okay, so the flounce is cut out now. The next thing now is to sew it on the side. I'm just going to sew it a little bit, so that because I did not have too much allowance, I just used 4 inches. So I'm going to sew it a little bit, turn it out and iron it. Then I'm going to add it to my side. So for the trouser, I'm going to sew it on the crotch like this, both front and back. Then after sewing it on the crotch, I've been sewing trousers on the channel already severally, so I'm sure by now we know how to join our pieces. So I'll sew the crotch of the front and back. After sewing it, I'm going to spread it on the underarm, but I'm going to try to show us the steps so that I can get it. Okay, so I'm going to sew it on the crotch for both front and back. The next thing now is to match it together on the under area and then sew. So I'm just going to be left with the sides. Okay, so I'll just match it here and then sew it on both sides. Then I'm going to sew one side of the pant also. Then on the other side I'll be fixing my flounce and my zipper. And then this is my flounce here. I've turned it neatly both in and out, and then I went ahead to iron it. Okay, so I'm gonna to sew it on the under area like this, and then also I sew it on the side. So on one side, the side that is going to carry the zipper, I just suspended my flounce in between the seams. Okay, so and then I sew it up to around 7 inches where I'm going to fix my zipper. So when I turn it out like this, I have something like this. So this is the side without the flounce, and this is the side with the flounce. So you can see what our flounce is looking like, and then we have this opening for my zipper. So now remember there is a band there, so I'm going to have to cut my band using my waist measurement, and then I added interface to this, and then I folded in one of the allowances. So now I'm going to sew this band round my waistline, and then I'm going to add my zipper, and then I'm going to hem it on the lower part. So when I'm adding my flounce, remember we are hemming this, so I left the allowance for hemming on the lower part, and then on the upper part also I left allowance for adding my band. So it's important for you to leave this allowance so that your band is not going to enter into your flounce. So I'll go over to the machine now, sew in my band and hem it on the lower part and fix my zipper, and the trouser is ready. So I'm gonna have to add my zipper to the trouser and then also fix my band. So this is what we have, and then the flounce can either be on one side like I did for mine, or you can add it to the two sides of your trouser if that is what you want. I hope you enjoy making this palazzo trouser with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. And the tutorial of how I made this wrap top is also on the channel. If you don't know how to do it, you can check that out on the channel. See you in the next one.